Toyota is recalling more than 120,000 Toyota and Lexus vehicles over a potential engine failure issue. Toyota just recalled 127,000 engines again, with failures reported at as low as 18,000 miles. Toyota says it's debris, but an independent teardown proves it's a fatal design flaw. Replacement engines are failing too. This is the V35A crisis destroying Toyota's reputation. The recall bombshell landed in November 2025, when Toyota issued a massive recall affecting about 127,000 vehicles in North America. That includes 2022 to 2024 Toyota Tundras with the 3.4-liter twin-turbo V6, along with Lexus LX and GX models. Over 100,000 trucks and luxury SUVs are equipped with engines that can fail catastrophically without warning. This isn't the first recall. Toyota has been playing whack-a-mole with the V35A engine since launch. The original recall covered engines built from November 2021 through February 13, 2023. Now, it's been expanded to include engines built through February 14, 2024, adding a full extra year of production. Even more alarming, failures are being reported outside the official recall window, including 2025 models. Worse still, some owners who already received replacement engines under the first recall are now experiencing repeat failures. The fixed engines are failing too. If you own a Tundra with this engine, you may be driving with a ticking time bomb. The question isn't if it will fail, it's when, owners are saying. Online forums and social media are overflowing with stories from Tundra owners dealing with catastrophic engine failures. One owner reported his 2022 Tundra with 32,000 miles suddenly losing power on the highway. The engine began knocking violently and seized completely. He was without his truck for 3 months waiting for a replacement. Another owner's 2023 Tundra failed at just 18,000 miles, barely broken in. The dealer found metal shavings throughout the engine and replaced it under warranty. Now he's terrified it'll happen again. And these aren't isolated cases. One owner wrote, "My 2024 Tundra blew up at 5,800 miles in Wisconsin. It's going to take 3 months. I traded it in and lost $10,000 just to get out. So, what's going wrong? Picture this. You're cruising in your $60,000 Tundra with just 30,000 to 40,000 miles when you hear a knock, then grinding. The oil pressure light flashes and the engine is done. Total catastrophic failure. Owners report sudden bottom-end failures, spun main and rod bearings, crankshaft damage, and metal debris flooding the oil. These aren't worn-out high-mileage engines. These are nearly new trucks failing long before 200,000 miles, if ever. The symptoms are clear: knocking, rough running, power loss, no start conditions, and complete engine seizure. Many owners describe being stranded mid-trip when their almost new Tundra simply dies. What makes this especially frightening is how fast it happens. Often, there's little to no warning. Some hear a faint tick for a day. Others go from running perfectly to destroyed in just a few minutes. The V35A FTS is a 3.4-liter all-aluminum twin-turbo direct-injected V6, making 389 horsepower and 479 pound-feet of torque. When it works, it's powerful, efficient, and tows well. But, none of that matters when the engine self-destructs before you've even made your first payment. Toyota's official explanation is simple: machining debris. They claim metal shavings were left inside the engine during manufacturing, clogging oil passages and starving critical components like the crankshaft bearings. No oil means no lubrication. No lubrication means metal-on-metal contact, and the engine destroys itself from the inside out. Toyota says the fix is straightforward. Inspect the engine, and if debris is found, replace the entire engine at no cost. They're extending warranties and providing loaner vehicles. On the surface, that sounds reasonable, but here's what doesn't add up. If this were purely a cleanliness issue, failures would be limited to specific production runs or assembly plants. You'd see a clear pattern: certain build dates failing, others unaffected. That's not what's happening. These failures are scattered across multiple years, multiple plants, and multiple batches. That doesn't point to leftover debris, it points to a deeper problem. And there's another major red flag. Toyota is tightly controlling the failed engines. Independent mechanics and engine builders aren't allowed to inspect them. Dealerships all say the same thing: the engines must be sent back to Toyota. The question is simple: why the secrecy, and what are they trying to hide? Here's where Toyota's story really falls apart. Independent engine builders say the machining debris explanation doesn't hold up. I Do Cars, one of the biggest teardown channels on YouTube, has the proof. Eric at iDo Cars tore down a recalled V35 AFTS from a 2023 Toyota Tundra with 38,000 miles. Yes, there was metal debris in the oil, but the damage pattern tells a different story. The top end was nearly perfect clean camshafts, minimal wear, and a healthy valve train. If debris had circulated through the oil system from manufacturing, damage would be everywhere. It wasn't. The failure was isolated to the bottom end. So, here's what we found. Two main bearings had completely spun, destroying the crankshaft journals with aluminum transfer. The debris that we discovered was actually created by the bearing failure, not the cause of it. Oil passages were mostly clear. The pickup tube was clean, and the oil filter wasn't clogged. But here's another red flag. Every rod bearing showed wear through the coating, even though they share the same oiling circuit as the mains. That kind of selective damage just doesn't match Toyota's debris explanation. The timing system, chain guides, and oil pump all looked excellent. Only the crankshaft bearings failed. Remember, this is a twin-turbo V6 making 389 horsepower and 479 pound-feet of torque. That's some serious bottom-end stress. And honestly, if the bearing design or oiling system can't handle it, these failures aren't really accidents. So, what's really going on? The elephant in the room is this. The V35A may have a fundamental design flaw. Toyota built the V35A to meet modern demands, smaller displacement, twin turbos, better fuel economy, and big power. On paper, it's impressive. But in real-world truck use, it may be overstressed. The leading theory is that the bottom end, crankshaft, bearings, and oiling system just isn't robust enough for sustained high loads and temperatures, especially in a heavy truck, like the Tundra. Towing 10,000 pounds up a mountain in summer heat means high boost, rising oil temps, and enormous bearing loads. If bearing clearances are too tight, oil passages too small, or the crank design is marginal, well, failure becomes inevitable. The teardown revealed another concern. The main bearings lack locating tabs. While this isn't unique to Toyota, it means the bearings rely entirely on crush fit and oil pressure. Under extreme load with reduced oil film strength, bearings can begin to rotate, and once they spin, it's over. Thrust bearing design is another downgrade. The old 5.7-liter V8 used 360-degree thrust bearings on both the block and main cap. The V35A uses 180-degree thrust bearings only in the block, cutting thrust surface area in half. Some engineers believe Toyota may have used bearing specs suitable for lighter duty or naturally aspirated engines, but insufficient for sustained turbocharged truck loads. And here's the most telling part. These failures span multiple model years, production batches, and assembly plants. That's the hallmark of a design problem, not a manufacturing mistake. The first reports of V35A failures surfaced in 2022, shortly after the redesigned Tundra launched. By 2023, owner forums were flooded with stories of catastrophic engine failures, trucks with 20,000, 30,000, even 50,000 miles, all showing the same symptoms. On May 30, 2024, Toyota issued its first official recall covering over 100,000 engines built from November 2021 to February 2023. But here's where things got questionable. iForce Max hybrid models were excluded despite using the same 3.4-liter twin-turbo V6. Toyota's reasoning? If the gas engine fails in a hybrid, the electric motor can still move the truck off the road, so it's not a safety issue. In other words, Toyota acknowledged the same defect exists in hybrids, but chose not to recall them. That's not standing behind the product, that's damage control. Fast forward to November 2025, and Toyota expands the recall to 127,000 vehicles, extending production dates to February 14, 2024. An entire extra year added. Many believe Toyota is recalling these engines 1 year at a time to avoid grounding too many unsold vehicles on dealer lots. The most alarming part is mileage. Engines are failing at 18,000, 32,000, and 41,000 miles despite meticulous maintenance, 5,000-mile oil changes, and full dealer service records. This isn't neglect. It isn't maintenance. It's the engine. This situation raises a bigger question for the entire auto industry. In the race to meet fuel economy and emissions targets, are manufacturers sacrificing durability? To boost efficiency, many engines now run ultra-lightweight oils like 0W20 to reduce friction. The V35A is likely one of them. But thinner oil requires tighter bearing clearances to maintain oil pressure, and tighter clearances leave far less margin for error. There's little ability to tolerate debris, surface imperfections, or minor machining variations. Older engines like Toyota's 5.7-liter V8, which ran 5W30 oil with larger clearances, had that margin.